15th chapter of Luke is known to be the chapter of lost and found. And as Christ begins to tell the parables, there are three parables that are listed in this whole chapter. The first begins with 100 sheep and one gets lost and is found. The second parable is about 10 coins, one gets lost and one gets found. And the third parable is about 2 sons, one gets lost and is found. It kind of parallels with the story of Abraham way back in the Old Testament when God's angels were on their way to Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy these 2 cities, and Abraham bargained with God. If you will find 1,000 people righteous, devoted to you, will you destroy those cities? And then he bargained for hundreds. Then he came to the 10 people. And God said, even if there are few who know my name and worship me. So there is a parallelism somehow of lost and found that began in the Old Testament, and Christ brings it to us in the New Testament in the form of a simple household. This is a single parent household headed by a father and 2 sons. Seems like the father has worked well and has some inheritance. The younger son is adventurous and exploring kind and maybe a little bit revolting, outgoing, experimenting few things here and there. And so he comes to the father and says, give me my share of inheritance. He's a younger brother. He doesn't understand that inheritance comes to you when father will die. He didn't want to wait that long. He didn't know when this old man will croak. So let me have the money right now and let this old man see how I use that money. And so he gathers up. The father doesn't argue. The parable says, he just gives it, divides it. This is yours, take it, go. And the son gathers up all the gold, silver, deeds, paperwork, inheritance, money, notes, whatever was part of all that giving, goes out into the world and wastes all that. And you know that it hardly takes few days for that money to disappear. And the lavish life that he had dreamed, he forgot that to keep that inheritance, he has to work hard and keep on adding to that. As long as it was somebody else's money, it was hunky-dory, He had a good life. He didn't realize that he had to work to continue to grow in that inheritance. And he comes to a point where he has nothing left, and he has been given a job to feed the swines, feed the pigs. And whatever those animals ate, you got to eat. That's how he survived the famine. Now from a Jewish perspective, for a Jewish man, to feed the swines was the lowliest of the low job that he could find. It was not the right thing for him to do. And it is in those lowly moments that he realized, what have I done? I need to go back home. Very much like in Wizard of Oz, Dorothy is trying to get away from home, and finally through the movie how she longs to come back home. And all she had to do was click those 2 red shoes together and say 3 times. Repeat after me. No place like home. No place like home. No place like home. She had the power, she had the moment, but she wasn't aware of it, and the whole movie she fights for that, and when the realization takes place, she clicks the shoes and she's back in Kansas. Well, prodigal son had to click his shoes. I wonder if he had red shoes. No, minus the shoes. He had to click his heels and come to that point of realization that he can go home. No place like home. And then when he comes home, the first person that he encounters is the father whom he had left. The brother is not there, older brother is not there, but the father is there. And the best part of father's personality, I can sum it up in 4 points. I can preach 4 sermons on that, but then you would be here till 6 o'clock tonight. And as Tom Stevens from Forest Church always reminded me, Pastor, some of us have to go back home and watch the ball game. So I'm respecting that. And that is why I'm just going to give you some short points of father's personality, how he treats his son, who has come back home after we don't know how many years or months or weeks. He is filthy, dirty, covered with all whatever was there on the ground when he slept, couldn't recognize. But one thing was that father was very consistent in his watch. Every day and night he waited on the rooftop with watchful eyes, and he knew he had hope. One day my son will come back home. So the first point in the personality of the coming back home or arriving to your home is that there is a loving father present there. He is a concerned father. He is a compassionate father. As soon as he sees this figure walking towards the home, he was still at a far distance, and father recognized him. With all the filthy figure, stench, he didn't care. He ran towards his son, hugged him, kissed him, brought him home, and then he threw a party, a celebration. Home is where there is a father who cares. That's why it is all right for you and me to go back home. Secondly, there is a lasting forgiveness at home. If you read verses 21 and 22, you'll find out the forgiveness is an aspect of father's personality when he did not take into consideration that this is the son who has squandered all my money. He has wasted the money, he wasted time, he wasted life, and didn't add anything to the inheritance, and here he is. What should I do? Do I start with some cuss words? Do I take like a disciplinary action? Give him a seat in the corner, go and sit there all your life? No. He offers him the forgiveness that came from his heart. And this forgiveness comes in 3 forms. Father says, clothe him. That was the first thing. Of course, he was stinking, right? He was dirty. He needed to be clean. And once you are clean, you have to be clothed right. Let me see if I can find Isaiah chapter 61, verse 10. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My whole being shall exalt my God. For he has clothed me with garments of salvation. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom decks himself with a garland, and as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. And then there is another reference from the Revelation. It's a long passage, so we'll skip on to the next one. The next is that the forgiveness not only came with a robe, clothes, but it also came with privilege of being in the family. And the second thing that Father asks to be put on his son is the ring. 1 John chapter 3, verse 12. I hope I'm on the right chapter here. 1 John chapter 3, first two verses. See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him. Beloved, we are God's children now. What we will be has not yet been revealed. What we do know is this: when he is revealed, we will be like him, for we will see him as he is. Forgiveness not only involves clothing, the right kind of clothing, but a ring, sign of sonship and authority. And then Father also says, put on some shoes on him, because the servants were the ones back then who would walk in the house without shoes. But if you are the child of the family, the son of the family, you always wore shoes. Preparation to take next step. And that is why it was important for this prodigal son to be dressed right in that aspect of forgiveness, to have those proofs on him that he has been forgiven. Thirdly, there is a lavish fellowship at home. Not only that Father dressed him up, but he sent out an invitation to all the friends and neighbors and community. Come and celebrate. Come and join together. Sorry for the fatted calf that got slaughtered that day, who made the fellowship feast possible. But he ordered that. Father said, go and bring that fatted calf. That means he was already planning ahead of time to sacrifice and to prepare this meal. And then he throws a party. A celebration goes on. But then there is another person in the family who was not there, and that is the older brother. And when he comes home, he has a different aspect of dealing with the situation. He gets mad at his father. He is jealous of his brother, that he has come back home. All that is now in the house is mine, and now he will take part in this too. And Father says that this is your brother who was lost. Now he is found. And then I think Luke leaves us with a cliffhanger. He doesn't tell us if this older brother goes in for celebration or not, if he joins the fellowship or not, if he celebrates the homecoming of his brother or not. We are just left there. But the thing of it is that Christ was telling these parables to the Pharisees and the scribes and the Sadducees who were part of that crowd. He had told two other parables, and this was the longest one and the most meaningful one, because sheep and coin are physical aspects of losing and finding. But when a human being is lost, that is when God's heart aches. And we who are journeying through this life, we have God's inheritance in our hands. And we are like this young son. We enjoy those blessings to the best of our ability and maybe misuse them and go bankrupt on them. We have nothing left. We hit the bottom. And it is in those moments that we remember all we have to do is click our heels, minus the red shoes, and tell ourselves, no place like home. This morning we are going to celebrate communion. What does this communion mean? It's a sort of homecoming for you and for me. Because we who are lost in the world, we needed to be found. And God sent His Son in this world to die on our behalf. Our journey of Lent has come to the next stop today. We take rest. We stop for a moment and we gather around this table of fellowship, reminding ourselves that it is all right for us to go back home. Because home is where we have a loving Father, where we have a new wardrobe waiting for us, where we have forgiveness, where we have fellowship, where we have celebration. And that is all right for us to claim that inheritance. So I would like to invite each and every one of you to come to the Lord's table with that thought of well-being, well received by God. Every human person is important in the sight of God. It is up to you to come to the table and still feel lost as the older brother was. He never left home, but he still was lost. He never got found. We don't know how the story ends. Christ leaves that to us. But for the other one who repented, asked for forgiveness, the celebration continues. And this morning we have an opportunity to take part in that celebration because Christ has laid down His life. He has offered that sacrifice for you and for me. So come as you are. It's an open communion. Everyone is invited to come and celebrate this with us. If you will be kind enough to open on page 12 in your book of hymnals, please. And we will follow the order of the communion service at this time.